to this week's episode of Diesel and the Beard.
Welcome to episode 5 of Diesel and the Beard, featuring the Commish, aka the Bearded Bean Counter, and my trusty colleague,
Diesel, aka Dorian Hartley, your boy and first champ. So,
aka the Wiz.
the Wiz. Yeah, I've been hot lately. We got a good episode coming up. Lots of things to talk about. Crazy week in the NFL last week with injuries and people shuffling around their rosters trying to get a win. Couple guys going to 2-0, couple guys going to 0-2. So, where do we want to start off?
Well, we're going to do a few different things. We've had some fan questions, so I think we'll get those answered. I'd like to do just a brief overview. We're going to do a week 2 recap. We're going to grade the grabs off the waiver wire yesterday. We're going to look at the 2-0s and the 0-2s. We're going to get some Bet365 wizardry advice. We're going to look at the injuries, just a couple of them, and then we'll close with a week 3 preview. And if we have time, we're going to do a quick recap on the trade that went down yesterday as well. Nice. So I guess let's kick it off with the week 2 recap. We'll get the elephant in the room out of the way. There was definitely some exciting action. We'll start with my brother. So I definitely thought that Cody was going to be my second victim of the year. And he turned on the after thrusters and put up a week leading 162.3 points.
Yeah.
He was on the back of Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, and Zane Gonzalez. John Brown kicked in with 14 as well. So well done, Cody. That was a slice of humble pie for myself. It always sucks when you run into a top guy like that, but I doubt that he's going to be able to continue those performances, getting 0.7 and 6 points out of his WR2 and WR3.
Yeah, that was, that was.
What'd you think?
I think that was his team playing kind of at the top of their limit. He's had 2 monster weeks out of Josh Allen, which helps. Close to 50 points. Per week. And the rest of his team was just, every time I seemed to be looking at the TV on Red Zone, it was
gross.
Scoring. It was weird for a bit because you had a bet in play late that actually had you cheering for a Buffalo scores. So, when you got an $11,000 ticket on the line,
wow,
becomes an afterthought. So that was kind of funny. It didn't work out in the end. And then, Cody had a monstrous lead. And you had a decent week, but, you had some sputters throughout your lineup.
I wanted to just point out, I like to do this, Dorian. I don't know if you ever do this, but you look at your roster and then you look at your bench and you're like, did I have the points available? And The interesting thing is, even with him going nuclear, if I had started Jonnu Smith in tight end, which, I could have, I picked him up for a reason. And if I had went with Julian Edelman instead of Will Fuller's dud 0, I would have won. So,
really?
I take solace in that, you know what I mean? Like, it's I had the pieces, it didn't fall my way.
It was a management error versus your team's just not good enough.
That's right. Exactly. So, what about you? Did you have any games or outcomes that you wanted to highlight in week 2?
Not really. I mean, I kind of think the winners won. Cody was probably the biggest upset for me that I saw coming or didn't see coming.
It was a high scoring week.
Yeah. I saw Jake kind of pounding me out. Reynolds beat Valdez. Who else? Chad won. Saw that coming over
decisively over Rosie.
Yeah. Silva and Nielsen over, was it Craig? 140. They put up a 142 burger. Yeah, that was pretty
over
big.
Over Powell.
Yeah. So Powell. It was honestly, looking at the rosters, I think the teams that should have won pretty much won.
10 of 12 teams interesting tidbit I'll slide in here. 10 of 12 teams put up over 100 points, which I don't recall ever seeing that.
Wow. Yeah. I made there was a couple game scripts that didn't go my way. Joe Burrow's on my bench with 30
Wow.
cooking.
Wow.
I thought the Detroit Green Bay game would be more of a shootout, but there was a pick six that kept Rodgers on the bench for a score, and I think
Aaron Jones, man. Aaron Jones.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones went just crazy with just running in 20 yards, fucking touchdown.
40 yards, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of killed the game script for me a bit, but hey, it is what it is. Moving on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think that's a solid little spot there. So let's transition over to probably my favorite article or my favorite segment every week, which is Grade the Grabs. Because especially like I've said in the past in previous episodes, you know, early on in the season, these waiver wires are like an extension of your draft almost. You're essentially going to be able to get some potentially impact players.
Right.
And so, you know, you and I talked off camera about the challenges facing guys with deep rosters and deep benches, right? If you don't have an open roster spot like you or I, it's tough to really justify moving on from some of these stashes that we have, right?
I was saying, we're saying it's hard to let go of a guy you've been waiting on for the promise of somebody else who might be a 2 or 3 week play, you know? So I kind of battled with that a little bit. It's still early enough that if things need to change, I can go out and get a piece. My draft's pretty intact. But I didn't pull the trigger on anything this week. I didn't have a great waiver, but I could have probably gotten something that might have worked for a 2 week play, but it's hard this early, you know. It's hard to give up on something this early. So,
yep, 100%, man. I'm with you. So I've got 6 players that were grabbed.
Yep.
And so I'm going to throw them out there. I'll give you my grade, and then if you want to just tell me what you think, we can kind of show the people of this fine fantasy football league what we think. So the first one obviously was Mike Davis, the backup for Carolina, with CMC done for 6 weeks. Rosie went in and put a priority on him. Yeah. I'm going to just say that's an A. That's a 6 week, target share touch share that he'll get. He looked really good in the air. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he could potentially be a 3-down back. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him. I don't like Carolina. I thought, you know, CMC could potentially struggle this year just because the team is not as dynamic as they once were. So, you know, Mike Davis, I think he's going to be a great player to spot start, but I just don't see a running game developing in Carolina. So
no. The targets are going to be huge. I believe he had 7 targets and 7 catches, or I don't know if he was that efficient, but I'm with you.
They're going to be behind a lot, not running a lot. So is the pickup great? Of course, you're getting a Christian McCaffrey out guy moving into a bell cow position. Yeah, sure. But I wasn't that high on McCaffrey after watching weeks 1 and 2. So I'm
the offense, right? Like a product of the offense.
They're just not going to be on the field a lot, and they're going to be down a lot. And I don't think they're going to be running the ball. You know, if they somehow turn this around and they're running the ball late in games in the 3rd and 4th quarter, trying to chew clock, I think Mike Davis could be phenomenal. Yeah. So,
So what grade do you give that? What do you give him? I gave him an A.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the move goes, it's an A. You're taking, a great player goes out and you're getting his instant handcuff. Yeah, sure, that's an A. But the move is an A, but
the long term long term value is short. Yeah,
he might have second his window for trading McCaffrey as well. You know,
I think he did. I was going to give him an offer, and then I'm like, wait, do I want to?
Ago we were talking about he could have had a king's ransom. He could have really rebuilt his entire team, but.
Yeah. Well, he's stuck with them now. I mean, unless you're going to get what you want, someone's going to pay a premium on him, which, you know what, honestly, Dorian, I probably would still, but it might not be the same.
There's people that will.
Yeah, you're right. Guys that don't have the top end. Running back is a scarce position right now, right? So
true.
If you're looking at, a Devin Singletary as your RB2, you're probably like, I could definitely do with a CMC or whatever, right?
But what do you pay for him now?
Well, that's exactly it. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see Powell
running back 1 through 5? Because I don't think a lot of guys even want to do that.
Well,
to get a guy
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, Dorian, I had an offer. I was sitting beside you on Sunday. I had an offer queued up, okay? And I didn't send it, but this is the offer. I'll let you know, and I'll let the audience know. And Powell, you'll hear it. You didn't see it because I didn't send it. But I was going to send Josh Kelly, James Robinson, Hayden Hurst, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
So 2 starting running backs that are going to get, Josh Kelly is probably one of the darlings right now in terms of his share. He got 23 carries last week, right? He's basically assumed the Melvin Gordon role. Hayden Hurst looks better, and then James Robinson is the man. I mean, I'm not happy to move him, but if it was for a guy like him, I'd consider it. So there you have it. I mean, that was what I was willing to, and I was like, nah, that's insulting. I won't do that. So
the other thing is, if McCaffrey comes back in week 6 or 7,
they said 4 to 6, but it's high ankle, man. I mean, I don't know. I've had a high ankle.
Let's say it's 4, best case.
Okay.
4. They're already 0-2. They're 0-6 and he's not 100% healthy. Are they going to plug McCaffrey back into the lineup and make him run the ball?
I think nothing to win for.
Like you had when Arizona was not a playoff team and David Johnson was battling injury. They didn't rush him back. They said, take your time. We'll use him next year. That worked out to be, him traded. But if they're a playoff team, okay, Christian, get a shot in your leg, tape it up.
Get a cortisone.
They're 0-6. He might not see the field for the rest of the year, or in a limited role. They might say, listen, we're rebuilding, want you healthy for next year. So anyways, that changes a lot, but moving along.
Yeah, for sure. So the next player I've got is Keelan Cole. He's got some targets in Jacksonville. I gave that a C. I think that there's a fine line between, and I'll explain myself, but there's a fine line between chasing stats and chasing underlying indicators. And so what I mean by that is Powell grabs, my apologies. Craig grabs Keelan Cole, and I just don't know if that's an offense I want anything to do with.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's the hard part, You're not just – it's not about just a player's talent. It's also about their surroundings, That's why I am pretty I only want receivers where I love the quarterback. Because so many times have you seen a great wide receiver go to a shitty team with a bad quarterback and they don't produce anything. And I think all players are like that. You're a product of a system. And Keelan Cole – we'll see. I don't know.
7 targets, 5 catches, and he had a touchdown. And so what I'm really getting at is if you take the touchdown away, I mean, is that a guy you want to go with? I don't know. If you need him, you need him. I look at it. I gave that a C. I gave it a C. I didn't think it was. I thought there were other guys out there that I liked better.
Yeah,
so
I'll give it a C. Yeah.
Russell Gage. We haven't talked about him yet, eh?
Nope.
So Russell Gage, he was grabbed second. I think Powell probably had a bunch of them in there, a bunch of grabs. And so he probably, obviously he wanted Mike Davis. I love Russell Gage. I think that the targets are probably higher than they will be going forward. But with Julio's potential absence this week, I mean, I gave that a B+. I thought that was a guy that you can plug in right away. I'm just going to take a quick peek at his targets. I mean, he had he's got 20 targets through 2 games.
Yeah,
man, that's ridiculous. That is actually ridiculous.
Atlanta has been having phenomenal game scripts for receivers. They've been,
that Dallas game, man.
God, just a shootout. I mean,
yeah,
I always love having Matt Ryan receivers because the guy throws the ball 60 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Gage is probably not a bad play because Ridley and Julio take up so much coverage. The ball's got to go somewhere. But the other
Hurst too with the safeties, man.
Yeah, and Hurst. So, but I don't know. It's one of those situations where it's probably a good pickup, but expect him to put up weeks where he has 0 because
he's boomer bust, right? He's the 3rd guy. So if you get a long touchdown to Julio,
guy, it's Julio, Ridley, Hurst, Gurley out of the backfield's also a check down. I don't know. It's just it's not bad. It's sometimes these moves that you don't have a big enough sample size. After 2 weeks, they've been in 2 complete shootouts where like throwing the ball. And then you think, you're like, oh, this guy's getting targets. You plug him in, and he puts up 2 points with 1 reception for 20 yards. In the
Will Fuller, man. I mean, he went over. He was the most targeted guy in the field, and then he just turned into Houdini. So I'm with you. I gave it a B+. Yeah. You see? Okay.
Yeah.
One I wanted to talk about was Myles Gaskin. He was a late grab. Chad was able to grab him sort of in the second wave there, and or was that in the original wave? No, he was just further down the list. I don't understand how you look at a guy like him and you say, nah, I'm gonna go grab Keelan Cole. I just don't understand that. We've got a guy he had 7 targets and 7 touches. What more do you want? I mean, I know the offense is not great in Miami, but he's outpaced Breida and Howard. Howard is an afterthought now.
Well, that's the issue, right? Nobody wants to have guys in Miami. That's kind of how I feel about the Jacksonville move, to be honest. It's like, okay, but it's Jacksonville, which happens to be the game tonight. We'll get that later, but
we'll get to that. Yeah,
Myles Gaskin, I looked at him too. He's, I think it's a good play.
I do too. I gave it an A-. That's because he's a running back. I'm going to tell you that right now. Actually, Chad, he was doing some roster management, so it shows an ad. It doesn't show anything being dropped, so chances are that was an IR replacement.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great move.
An honorable mention I wanted to before we move on to the fan questions. An honorable mention. Rosie grabbed Dalton Schultz, who took over for the injured Blake Jarwin in Dallas as the tight end, and Blake Jarwin was an early season darling, a preseason darling. And, I think it was sort of because of the style of offense that McCarthy was installing there. And also the word at a camp was that he looked really good. So he went down with an ACL early in week 1. And so Dalton Schultz is just the guy, right? And you touched on this with AB. I believe it was Antonio Brown's role in the Oakland offense last year, how they had built sections of the playbook around him, right? Well,
needed to fill it. Yeah.
I know the game script was positive for Schultz last week, but like he had 10 targets, man. Like how do you not? Exactly. So Rosie, good on you. I give that a B+, even though it's a tight end. I think that's the type of guy that I'm after. I'm not chasing points. I'm chasing the underlying indicators: touches, snap percentage, how many offensive snaps they're on. Hayden Hurst, for example, he ran the most routes of any tight end in week 1. Even though he didn't put the numbers up, that allowed me to feel confident in him in week 2. So when I see a guy like Schultz getting 10 targets, even if he pulls in 7, that's a fantastic day for a tight end.
Oh yeah. You get a touchdown in there. It's a
what do you give that, Dorian? Out of a passing grade kind of thing, what do you give it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably, so far, just based on the stats that Schultz has put up, it's probably a B move. It's cool. Probably not a league winner, but it's a solid hole filler.
Well, he's in the basement. We'll get to him in a bit, but like those are the types of moves that, if those guys that are in the basement with you just fall asleep, those are the types of moves that can propel you.
Yeah. How about Chad losing Saquon and already has Freeman sitting in his IR or sitting on his bench? And then that's who the replacement is.
It's so greasy.
That's probably like the best waiver move that wasn't a waiver move. Was just like he picks him up knowing he's going to go somewhere. Tragedy strikes, and then he gets the guy for the handcuff. I mean, it still sucks to lose Saquon. Yeah. That dampens the blow.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I'm with you. I think there's 2 ways to look at that. There's, what if Saquon was still healthy and Devontae signed somewhere else? You could have had 2 guys. Yeah. And he definitely needs the help. But I'm with you, man. He didn't have to trade for the handcuff. He keeps the guy, right? So
yeah, and I love Freeman. Always have. He's very capable.
Yeah, you had him forever, man. You almost kept him.
Yeah. If he had signed with the team, I probably would have kept him.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move along here. We had a recommendation from Silva on fan questions. So if you guys want to ask us a question through the week or have us talk about something, feel free. He was the first to mention this kind of segment / he threw some questions at us. So The first question was, where does CMC finish after week 13?
It's a great question. And that's a question that someone that potentially is going to try and make a run at him needs to be asking themselves, because it really comes down to a numbers game. If you're going to trade for a guy and he's going to take 3 weeks to warm up, he's going to I personally think CMC may not play again this season. What we were talking about earlier. And so to answer this question, if you are making a run at CMC, you have to price in the fact that, he might come back in 6 weeks. High ankle sprains are tough. And so I don't see him finishing as anything higher than an RB3, which is a top 36 running back. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's I've kind of spoken on this a few times now. I think there's still value in him with his name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's a keeper league, right?
Yeah, I don't love him this year. I mean, but his Carolina, they got Bridge. They didn't bring in a rookie QB that needs a year to develop. They brought in Bridgewater, who hasn't looked great, and their defense looks depleted, and their offense just looks sluggish. So I don't know. There's value in him because of his name. Yeah. I probably wouldn't make a move on him at this point. And I see him as probably at best case an RB2, probably more so an RB3, ending the year. But guess we'll see.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. Now the second question was, where does Michael Thomas finish, and will he finish as a top 10 receiver?
I don't see him as a top 10 this year. I just don't.
I mean, let me list the top 10 receivers as of right now to try and kind of put this into perspective. Okay.
Is this consensus or is this?
This is on NFL, so everyone can can chill their boots. Calvin Ridley, Robbie Anderson, Devontae Adams, Steph Diggs, Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf. What's that? 3, 6, 7, 8. Julian Edelman and Darius Slayton. And so right on the cusp is Terry McLaurin, Tyreek Hill, and John Brown. Yeah. And so those guys have all, it's super early, but those guys have all, for the most part, caught at least one touchdown. And every single one of them has broken 140 plus yards. So, think about this. If you're going to be catching an average of, let's say, 80 yards, you're almost at, by the time he comes back, which is when, next week, week after, I don't really know. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in a hole now. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the New Orleans offense. No one really has stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, Cooks looks good. I think we talked about this earlier, was Thomas had a record-breaking year last year in terms of targets. You can't keep breaking records. They're records for a reason. You get that 1 year where, you get 40% of the team's fucking targets, and it's not likely to repeat. You're not going to have a back-to-back years where you're getting this much unless – I mean, he could.
Well, he did it. He did it. He broke the efficiency record 2 years in a row. So what are we saying right now? Is he going to do it a third year?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Probably not. And if they were – again, there's too many weapons there. Kamara's a fucking beast, especially in the catching game. He's got too many weapons. Cook, he's been getting tons of looks. They bring in Sanders for a reason. Who is now hurt, or is he?
No, man, that's a great point. He has not even been looked at. Yeah, because he was coming off that injury, right?
Right. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. Yeah.
And then you got just Josh Hill, Taysom Hill, Tavius Murray. It's just
Drew Brees
a lot of
look
mouths
good
to feed. No, I mean the Raiders just pounded them in Vegas, so. Yeah, I did not bet that game because I don't bet my Raiders games. But had I been betting, I would have bet big time on New Orleans because after that week 1. But anyways, I don't see him not this year. That's what you call it, a bold prediction if you want. Mike Thomas does not finish in a top 10 position.
I agree. I'm 100% with you. I don't think it's that bold. I think he'll finish as a top 36 receiver.
Yeah, he'll be in the top 20 if he comes back and stays healthy. I think, probably in that 18 range, 15 to 20 range, somewhere in there.
Yep.
But yeah,
I can see it.
I don't see it. I just don't see it this year.
I don't either.
Also, the guy can only break records twice before he's getting fucking triple coverage with a safety roaming over top, getting bumped off the line, a guy underneath and over top. okay, we're going to try and force something into a guy facing double? Or are we going to throw it to a totally capable wide receiver facing a fucking middle linebacker crossing through the middle? Like, it's just –
it's true.
Which is why Ridley's having such a heyday. Because Julio went through this. Roddy White was still there, and Roddy was getting the double, and Julio emerged. Now, Julio is basically taking – you there? Sorry,
we were talking about Cal.
Brief interruption. Yeah, so Julio already did this when Roddy White had the double. Julio emerged. Now Roddy had the double. Ridley's emerging. Mike Thomas, he's going to create lots of opportunities for other guys, and that's where I think it'll be.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. So we've got two things to look at. So we've got the 2-0 teams in our league in the KFFL. So we got Chad, Jake, Cody Wilson, and the dynamic duo. They're all 2-0. And then we've also got 4 teams at 0-2. And those would be Craig, Valdez, Powell, and Rosie. So I guess what I wanted to see, I wanted really to look at what you had to say. Which of the 2-0 teams do you think is a Cinderella, and which do you think is to be feared?
Wow, Cody's too much of an easy pick. So, yeah.
In terms of the 2-0s, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like, all right. I'm not gonna pick on Cody. I think Silva and Nielsen might be. They've done a lot with their team, and I think they've kind of been building this for a few years now, and I think they're on fire. But I think we'll see them kind of slide down a little bit as the season gets moving on.
I'm with you. I was actually going to say the exact same thing. I mean, my brother's obviously made some moves, and we'll talk about that. But he's obviously the 162 is something to be reckoned with, and if he can continue that, I mean, it's so Jekyll and Hyde with him. You know, it was like a terrible 87-point output or 89-point output in week 1, and then he doubles that. So it's really hard to say. Whereas with Silva and Nielsen, it's like I think they're humming around the top of their range too, and they're putting up some decent performances. But if they ran into any of the big boys on a weekly basis, I'm not sure that they can keep that up.
Yeah.
So,
and like you said, Cody really shouldn't have been 1-0 after week 1 because what did he put up? 89 points, and he played the clear-cut worst team, smallest point total. So he got through with an easy win, and then his team goes nuclear week 2.
Right.
So
right.
Who knows, again, right? I'll leave it to. I'm going to say Silva and Nielsen. They're kind of outperforming themselves right now. So.
Let's spin that on its head then, because I'm with you on that. Let's look at the Owen Twos. And who do you think from those 4 teams, Craig Whalen, Justin Valdez, Cody Powell, and Adam Rose, who do you think of those 4? I'll list you some point totals. Yeah. So Rosie put up 160 over 2 weeks. Powell put up 188. JV put up 192. And then Craig put up 200. Which of those 4 teams do you think has the best chance of making the playoffs?
I'm going to say Craig. I wasn't – before the point totals were mentioned, his team's got a lot of bright spots, and they've got a lot of spots that can like Juju's been pretty good.
Aaron Jones
has been phenomenal. I think, Craig might have issues with like a quarterback. I think he started Wentz in week
I knew you were going to go there. And I've been listening to the industry all week. He has Ryan Tannehill, it's about time we start respecting him. He's thrown 6 touchdowns through 2 weeks.
Yep.
And he's thrown nearly 500 yards. I mean, I don't know what happened when he left Miami. But that was, he is. And I mean, you know what, Dorian, I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with you. And it's not just because of the point totals. I think that Craig's team is probably, it's championship ready right now. The other 3 guys have clear-cut, holes in their roster. So Valdez, Powell, and Rosie, they've all got holes in their roster, whether it's because of injury or whatever. I'm with you.
Yeah. So I think Craig's going to move up a little bit. I think Rosie's pretty much toast. Powell needs the Christian McCaffrey thing didn't help him, and Valdez is probably a little stagnant for my liking. He's kind of waiting on these guys to kind of pop up, and they're not popping yet. So, how long do you wait? So,
exactly. Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, I mean, those guys also have, there's a small sellers buyers window where the cream is rising and the bottom guys are selling, and all those picks are only available for a short while. So it's usually the first person to fire sale gets the bounty, and nobody wants to do it after week 2 or 3. But
no,
it's something to keep in mind, Rose. Like, if you keep getting pounded, maybe it's time to. And I've seen this too, where like you get rid of a few big name guys,
and then you
take in a
beast.
plenty full of picks, and then you go get these guys that are just on just like
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, Tannehill. And you're like, oh, okay, pick him off the waiver wire. He's been good. Pick up this defense who's been in the top 5 since week 1, and then like your team can actually. I've seen it happen. I think I did.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you did it, man. Yeah.
So it's possible, but you can't just fall in love with these big names. You got to go.
The old Ed syndrome, man. You just
make something happen.
Use the names. Absolutely. No, I'm with you. I was going to ask you actually, just as an aside. I know what I think, but when do you think that the free for all for the trades is gonna take off here?
Week 4, end of week.
After
3.
week 4, yeah. Oh yeah, okay.
Probably week 3 or 4. I mean, if Rosie's 0-3 and Powell's 0-3 and JV is 0-3, someone's got to make a move, because when they're all 0-4, then what happens is it becomes like it becomes a buyer's market, because one, oh, well, Powell wants my 1, Rosie wants my 1, Valdez wants my 1, so what are you going to give me? Whereas if there's only one seller, it becomes a seller's market. And then you're getting all the other guys that are trying to get players bidding against each other. So it's
100%.
to move quick. Week 3 is kind of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say in years past, I'm pretty much right there with you. I think that might be a touch early, but I mean the early bird gets the worm, right? So, but what I was gonna say is, in years past, I've remarked at how insane the trade markets in October get. And we've got a trade deadline middle of November. I basically put it as the latest possible date on NFL.com. And so I've seen guys that just start fire sailing. Liam, Craig's done it.
Oh, yeah.
Beginning to middle of October. So I think in the next 3 weeks, I actually just looked at the calendar and can't believe it's the 24th, but I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to see some shifts here.
Well, there's another late buying session that happens right when there's the middle of the pack starts to separate. So there's the early upper tier and the early lower tier. Then there's the middle. And then like mid-October, end of October, that separates. And guys realize, okay, I would need to win, 5 of my last, 6 or 7 to make the playoffs. And there's guys that like, oh, I only need to win 3 of my next 6 to make the playoffs. And then what happens there's a late buying period, but you have to make sure that one of those guys is the guys that haven't already shopped all their picks, and one of those guys is someone that hasn't dumped all their players. And then you can find nice little mid-season meshes. Usually that's when I wait to do my trade. The problem is those guys that are just nipping on it have to get to that point without making any deals early in the season. So they have had to have drafted well and gotten to that point.
Like a Loudon.
Yeah, so if Loudon's right on the bubble, come week, 8 or something, then he's like, listen, okay, I need that one last piece to put me over. This guy can't make the playoffs. Maybe that's when you see a guy like Mike Thomas getting moved or a McCaffrey or something like that. So.
Well, let's do a quick switch up here for our non-KFFL audience.
Sure.
Dorian, you've been on a tear recently. And so I wanted to just see if you had we can break free of the Thursday night football, because I know you said it's a bit of a swamp donkey. So if you wanted to just give us any little tidbits for this weekend's action, the floor is yours.
What do you like?
I've been dabbling more and more in the alternate spreads and also looking at the player props. So I'll say right now, I like Mike Gesicki for an anytime. He's at 2.62.
Yeah.
I just think that he's a big body, and he had a breakout game last week. And then obviously we're looking for value, and how do you 2.62 is right in that honey spot for me.
Yeah.
I want to just point something out. This game is at such a crossroads. The top, or I guess the favorite for the anytime is James Robinson at 1.9. There's no one lower than that.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
I like Gardner Minshew for an anytime too. I know he likes playing prime time under the lights. I could see him just being hyped up. It doesn't. I think it's 7-1, but
it's 7-1.
Yeah, I can see him just trying to get in there and keeping a ball on a play he probably shouldn't. I see that happening, but I don't know. Again, it's kind of a shitty game. Miami's played a lot better than they think. The Bills look like the real deal, and Miami had them on the ropes. So
that's true, man.
And then the Patriots didn't really pound them like they should have, in my opinion. Years past, Patriots versus Fish is 47-7.
It was 11 points, man, and it really came down to that Cam touchdown.
So that being said, it is an away game for Miami, but it's away in Jacksonville, which is in Florida anyway, so it's not a far travel game. Teams are probably, they feel right at home there. So I would go Dolphins money line, which is I think 240. So I think there's tons of value in that. Dolphins money line. I like that.
Wow. I'm just going to note this for next week so we can I'm going to start actually just keeping them here. So, So for you, Dorian, you like Finn's money line.
Yep.
And you like Minshew anytime.
I like the value of it. Like if you're like, okay, really bet a touchdown scorer. Yeah, I would probably go with someone more like I like your Gaskin.
Anytime. Yeah.
I think Dolphins. And so even like Devontae Parker at 2.37, Gaskin's at 2.37. So I mean there's lots of value in these touchdown scorers.
I wish Jordan Howard was higher. He's got a ton of the only carries he gets are within the red zone. And so I wish if it was higher than 2.62, because he's not going to get a score unless he's scoring on one of those 5 carries he gets.
Yeah.
If he was somewhere around 3, I'd be all over him. If you were to say right now, is there a player in the lower, like in the, you know what I'm saying, like the Agunba Wale territory? Like Minshew, I guess, is your pick at 7.
Yeah,
Lynn Bowden Jr. He pays 17-1. I want once this year to just lay 10 or 20 bucks on one of these long shots and have it be like, the 9 route was run by who? And everyone in the room is screaming, that helps no one. Except for the beard.
The beard. Yeah, no, I don't. This isn't a game I would pick that,
Okay, yep.
I would pick that really long shotter in like Atlanta versus New Orleans or something.
The Bears, yeah.
Yeah, a shootout, Anyways, the rest of the week, you have any loves or hates?
Well, I'm just doing a quick scan right now, and I'm going right to one player prop right now, and it's not available, unfortunately. But I want to see what Dak Prescott anytime is against the Seahawks. He had 4 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. So these lines will change a lot, and a lot of the props aren't ready on Thursday night. So it's kind of hard. Also, it's a little early in the week to really know who's a go or not. Things can change. Like, Julio playing or not playing is a big deal to me. Regarding like betting Atlanta, for example. But just off the top of my head here, I'll kind of go through all the picks and I'll tell you what I like. Raiders in New England. I don't bet Raiders, so I'm not going to speak on it because I never know if I bias or not. Rams versus Bills. I mean, the Bills have been hot, but so have the Rams. And if I can get 2.5 points, I'm probably going to go Rams plus points all day, even though the Bills are looking pretty real deal right now. Houston and Pittsburgh. Houston hasn't surprised me at all. They're just kind of, they 0-2, slugging around.
They're trash.
Deshaun Watson's not making it happen.
No.
and the Steelers kind of look revitalized with Ben back there. So I'd probably go Pittsburgh money line.
Mm-hmm. Pays 1.5.
Yeah, the 4. I don't like the 4 spread. I might change that to a 3 spread.
I was just gonna say, what if we change that to a 3? I'm just gonna bring that up actually, so we can make that happen. I just don't like the. I'm with you on the Steelers all day. I just don't like the 1.5. So I'm gonna just jump over here, do an alternative spread, and we'll do them -3, which is 1.68. It's a little bit nicer than
San Fran and Giants. I'm not even going to look at that game because San Fran's been absolutely decimated by injuries.
Yeah.
I don't even know how their team looks right now. Giants just as Saquon. I don't know. They're just not touching it.
Yep.
Titans at Vikings. Titans are the favorite.
2.5. I love that. What do you think?
Yeah, I would take Titans probably money line or Titans.
The Vikings have been terrible. Now, the only thing that gets me in this, they're both running teams, and so I don't feel confident that if one of them gets down, they can come back, which means it's going to be a close game. But yeah. I don't know. I think the Vikings do break out at some point. I just don't know if it's against the Titans, but it is in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think the Titans have looked good, man. The Titans have looked good. I would probably go Titans money line just to be safe. Forget the points. Washington versus Cleveland.
Man, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like both teams have looked great. Both teams have looked trash. If Baker comes out, Baker looked dangerous. He was feeling dangerous. He was looking dangerous. His accuracy was the best I've ever seen it at the professional level last week.
Right. But Jekyll and Hyde again. Who do we get? And same with Haskins. Haskins likes to start games off going down 3 touchdowns. And then I'm probably not going to touch that game, to be honest. Cincy at Philly. Cincy's getting 4.5. I mean, after what I saw Joe Burrow do on Thursday night and what I've seen Philly doing this year, how do you not like that?
Man, that's the gift of the week, I feel like.
4.5. Bengals have been playing just hungry.
I think if at worst they might lose by a field goal, Cincinnati, but
Phillies look like shit.
They're trash, man. What do they have? Boston Scott? Bye.
Yeah, I know. Eh? So I probably go in Cincy plus 4.5 there.
Okay.
Atlantan Bears. Atlanta. They need a win. Like the Bears, I don't know. I keep thinking they're shit, but they keep surprising me to some degree. Atlanta's it's in Atlanta in the Dome.
It depends on how they recover from that loss last week. I think Atlanta either is decimated, like they're just beaten, or they're coached up and they just crush. And I don't think that Trubisky can keep up with Matty Ice.
It depends if Julio's playing. If Julio's playing, I'd take Atlanta -3. Or I bet at -3 now, and then when Julio's in and the line changes, or Julio's out, I maybe just cash out of my bet.
So I've got them at -3 right now.
Yeah, I would say Atlanta -3. Jets and Indy, that's a huge favorite. Indy's -11.5 points. That's a big one. I don't like spreads like that. I think Indy
hate them.
is going to crush that game, but I don't touch games like that because it's just too much can go on, you know.
Yeah. Special teams return or something like that.
Panthers versus Chargers, you know. If Herbert plays like he played against KC and Carolina has got a Christian McCaffrey less backfield, I love the Chargers -6.5.
6.5, me too.
They hung with KC, Super Bowl champs. I mean,
well, I think a lot of that had to do with there was no film on Herbert, so it's you're kind of reacting as a defense, and you could see it, you could feel it, you know.
Yeah, he was slinging though.
It's going to be the same problem. I mean, even if you only have one game, they're going to. So this is the thing, Dorian. Last week, they didn't. There was no game script built for Herbert. It was built for Tyrod. It was a last second. I don't know if you heard, but the puncture by the trainer is what got him.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
Lawsuits, man. Honestly, that guy needs to be cut. Not Herbert or not Tyrod, the guy that punctured him. And there's got to be something. I mean, he's not playing. He's not getting a game check.
That's the top level doctor in California. Obviously, these doctors they hire for this are like, they're the guys.
Cut that motherfucker. Get him out of there.
And
like,
you
if that was
puncture
Rodgers,
your starting quarterback's lung?
Imagine it was a face of the like, imagine it was a face of the league. Imagine it was a LJ, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, Rodgers a
Brady.
couple years ago. The guy is going to be publicly
Drew
roasted.
Brees. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tyrods, no one really gives a shit. But
right.
These are supposed to be top level industry, and they're fucking sticking needles in your lungs. That's crazy to me. Anyways.
It's insane, man. Yeah.
All right. I'm not touching Detroit and Arizona just because Detroit is like, they're just all over the place. They can have a lead and blow a lead, and there's just too much drama in those games. T-Bay and Broncos.
In Denver.
Any word on Locke out?
I don't know. It wasn't as severe as they thought, but I haven't received an update yet.
I just an injury update on that.
I don't like Tampa Bay. I think if you're going to go with Tampa Bay at -6, you're putting a lot of expectation and altitude at that offense, you know? So I'm more inclined to just stay away from that game.
Yeah, not touching it.
I don't touch Green Bay.
Seahawks. But I like Seahawks, actually, even maybe not 5. Maybe Seahawks money line or Seahawks with -3.
Let me just pull up what the -3 is for the home audience. So if we were to switch to a main prop and we would go to the alternative two-way and we go Seahawks -3, it's 161.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas just got past Atlanta barely with like magic fucking kicks and goal line drives, and Seattle just handled Atlanta. So
yeah,
and Russ has just been looking amazing. Packers and Saints, man, fuck. That's a hard one for me.
I love the Packers, but I can't bet my own team. It's too much bias.
I don't think the Saints are as bad as they played last week.
I agree with you, man. I really do agree with you.
And it's in the Dome where Drew is usually lights out. I think we have a shootout in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say the over. The over's quite high, but
52.5, okay.
Yeah. If I had to bet it, I'd sprinkle Packers +3 at 2-1 because that's good value.
So that's an implied total for the Saints of, let me just see here, 26.2. So that'd be 29. So they're saying that the Saints are going to put up about 30 points this week. Mm-hmm. So my problem with that is if there's no Michael Thomas, Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the league for Green Bay. And so you're going to have a situation where the next best guy is going to be eliminated. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the linebacking and safety core of my team, Packers, are going to be able to stop Kamara. That's the wild card for me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't love the game. I would probably put that game on a parlay ticket for like less mm-hmm. money but bigger payout. But like I mm-hmm. probably wouldn't straight bet that. Although mm-hmm. it's going to be a good game to watch. In KC Ravens, I'm not touching it. That's just going to be a fun game to watch. I'd probably maybe look at for some player props closer to game time. But
mm-hmm. So let's summarize. So what I've got here, Dorian, is the ticket that I'm gonna be playing this based on your recommendation. And so I'm gonna put $100 on this, and that's gonna pay me $14,000 if it comes down.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go over it. So if you don't want the parlay, you can sort of do the creme de la creme. But the 8 picks that we have are Miami money line. We've got the Rams +2.5 against the Bills. We've got the Steelers -3 at home against the Texans. We've got the Titans on the road on money line against the Vikings. We've got the Bengals +4.5 on the road against the Eagles. We've got the Falcons -3 at home against the Bears. We've got the Chargers -6.5 at home against the low-life Panthers. And we've got the Seahawks -3 against the Cowboys. So that pays as a parlay, just look at this out of the way, that pays 146.49 to 1. But if you were to say, Noreen, right now, you wanted to pick a few of these as sort of a more confident pick, what would they be? What would you, even just your best one, your lock, your doom?
Yeah, my doom is probably going to be the Chargers minus 6.5 of the Panthers.
Okay, that pays 195. So that's a nice double up. If you guys are looking to put a splash down, there's not a better way to do it than ride the whiz right to the finish line and get those cash bags.
Yeah,
get that bag.
Bag time. All right, now we are. Where are we at here? Okay.
Let's move on.
Speed this up. Yeah, we got
a few more
minutes.
pieces left.
10 minutes.
All right, good. So we've got 3 more segments. So the next one we'll keep short and to the point. We wanted to just look at a few of the teams that have been decimated by injury, and so I was able to do a little bit of research pre. And so the 49ers, obviously, they've lost. Their defense is ravaged. Jimmy Garoppolo sprained his ankle. Raheem Mostert has a mild MCL sprain. He's out this week. Tevin Coleman's knee sprain, likely to miss several weeks. And then obviously George Kittle had the week 1 injury. He might come back this week. He might not. Deebo Samuel, Tavon Austin, and Jalen Hurd are all out. And also is the starting center. I mean, pardon?
That's why I'm not betting them in football, because that's craziness. Actually, you might want to just bet the other team.
Whoever's they're playing, eh?
Yeah.
The other team I was gonna look at. Obviously,
running backs were just dropping this week. It was sad to see. It's like every game we watch, like this guy's out, that guy, Saquon goes out, huge name. Christian McCaffrey's hurt. Michael Thomas is hurt. I'm just looking through people's teams, fantasy teams. It's like there's doubtfuls or questionables everywhere. So
it was one of the worst I've ever seen, actually.
It probably was the worst I've ever seen, actually. Because like every game, it was like, oh, here we go again. This guy's down. His knee's hurt. And like, we're only talking about superstars. There's a bunch of just offensive linemen, defensive linemen who no one really gives a shit about because you just put the next big body in. They're not fantasy relevant. But there was so many injuries, guys getting carted off the field.
Bruce Irvin. So just for the Seahawks, Bruce Irvin's done for the year. And Nickelback, Marquise Blair's done for the year. And that's been confirmed by Pete Carroll. So I'm not sure if that affects anyone's outlook. But, Bruce Irvin was obviously a pass rush specialist. And the nickel corner is usually the guy. He doesn't have the outside leverage. So he's usually the guy that's got that shuttle quickness, that lateral quickness. So those will obviously hurt a little bit. Paris Campbell, Malik Hooker, they're both out for the Colts. And then the other team I wanted to look at was the Giants. So they lost, obviously, Saquon, Sterling Shepard, and it looks like it's just going to be a next man up mentality for the Big Apple. So
it's crazy.
Anyways, we'll cap it there. Let's move to the Week 3 preview in the KFFL. So the first game that I wanted to just take a look at was a vintage throwback match. Obviously, you guys are going to say, well, he's biased, but this week I play against Chad. So it's Super Camario against the bad guy. And this actually, it's interesting. We're both projected to put up over 100 points. And this is a rematch. Sorry, it's not a rematch. It's a mismatch against the 2018 champ and the 2019 champ.
Nice.
So I'll let you make a pick on that.
Yeah, 2 high-performing teams. Chad losing Saquon this week is probably pretty big in terms of I'm going to give you the W here because I think I haven't seen Lamar really hit his ceiling yet, and he's due for one of those big games. And I think
Monday night.
Yeah, I think game script. There's not too many games I think Baltimore will be behind, and I think KC might be one of them. So I think he'll be throwing a lot or running a lot, making shit happen. And I think that's big for you. So I'm going to give you the W here, even though I think it'll be a close game. And I'm probably going against what's NFL say about it?
They've got me as a 21-point favorite.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to go with you. And but, yeah,
all right.
Fun game to watch.
The second one I wanted to talk about was
somebody's losing. Somebody's losing their perfect record. So buckle up, Silva. Buckle up.
Jake versus the dynamic duo. That's our second match we'll chat about. So what do you think about that one, Dorian? You've set the table nicely.
Well, hey, I just think that it sucks to lose your undefeated record in week 3, and someone's going to. So let me have a quick look here at right there.
I've got the matchup. So I'll just say right now, Kyler Murray and Mahomes. That's going to be the top of the pile. We've got Jacobs and Sanders versus Montgomery and Gibson. So I'm going to say Jake has the edge there. We've got Marvin Jones, Robert Woods, and Calvin Ridley versus Corey Davis, Terry McLaurin, and yet to be determined. But I mean, we've got options. AJ Brown or Jameson Crowder, or they may have to turn to somebody on the waiver. So I'm by default, because Ridley is the number one receiver in football, I'm going to give the receiving core to Jake. Obviously, tight end goes to Silva. Silva and Nielsen. Sorry, they've got Kelsey versus Fant. And then in the flex, it's interesting. We've got Seh against Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
I don't like that one. Although Hilaire is probably playing his toughest defense yet in Baltimore.
Yeah, I would agree.
So we'll see how that goes. I think just from how Jake's team has been performing, I think I'm gonna have to give him the W this week. Mm-hmm. And I also predicted Nielsen and Silva to slip out of that top realm. So kind of going with both my predictions. I think this would be the week that Jake will go to 3-0, Silva goes to 2-1, or Silva and Nielsen, sorry. And
I'm with you on that.
It should be a good game.
With you.
But Jake's team's just been like producing. So
yeah, and I mean, there's no reason to think it's not like these have been unsustainable performances. We've just seen guys do what they should do, right?
Yeah.
So the projection, just before we close the book on this analysis, is I'm going to give Silva a bump of 10 points just for whoever he puts in the WR2 spot. That would put him at 107-ish, and Jake's at 116. So it is going to be a closer match.
Yeah.
This will be one of the ones. This one, and then this next one. So the next one that I want to talk about is the rematch between Dorian, Diesel, and Loudon, and it's a rematch of the 2016 final. And Dorian doesn't talk guff when he's saying that he's lost a few finals by fractions of points. He lost the 2016 final to Loudon's only championship, by a total margin of 1.92 points.
Wow, not quite two. Yeah, I remember that game. I think I needed Frank Gore to have another carry or something like that, and they picked six and nailed it out or something like that. Something along those lines. Anyways, it'll be good. Loudon's team looks good. Hopefully my team can get healthy for Sunday and put up a battle.
It's projected to be close, Dio. It's we've got a 2.89, something like that.
Wow.
Margin. I mean, it's probably one of the closer matchups. You guys are both 1-1. So this is going to be a topsy-turvy. One of you is going to go to the top. One of you is going to go to out of playoff contention for the moment. So I know it's hard for you to pick. So I'll do a quick brief on this. Prescott versus Rodgers. I think that's close. I probably give it to Rodgers. Zeke and Taylor against Brown and Johnson. I have to give that to Loudon.
Yeah.
Hopkins, Godwin, and Chark against Julio, Odell, and Lockett. I think if Julio goes, it's a no-brainer. I think if Julio doesn't go, I'm just taking a peek down your roster, and you've got some different options. Jerry Jeudy is just, with Sutton going down, that's money.
Yeah.
So, and then tight end, we've got Cook against Hawk, and I love Cook. I think that he's a huge benefactor of the Thomas injury in New Orleans. And then I always love putting a running back in my flex, and you've got one of the better ones there. You might have the best flex in the league potentially with Melvin Gordon, and he's got Deontay Johnson, who's questionable. I like Johnson. I'm just going to give that to you. I think that literally could be the dagger. That's Sunday at 4:25. Mm-hmm. So. Now tonight he's got Chark going, so he's probably going to get out to a decent little lead, hopefully for him. And then the rest of the action kicks off on Sunday. I don't think there's anyone on Monday, so by Sunday night we'll know who wins this one, Dio.
Yeah, awesome. Excited. Hopefully I can get a W out of that and not have to start battling from the basement already.
So I guess do you have any other? Do you have any games you want to chat about for week 3?
No, I think that's good. We're probably coming close to time anyways, so I'll leave it there. You want to speak quickly on the trade review, The only trade this week, I believe, was Cody and Chad.
Yes, right. So just before we close, gents, what we want to do is keep on top of the transactions in the KFFL, and just give our opinion from a podcast perspective. So this week there was just the one trade. So Chad he liquidated Steph Diggs and his 7 and 9 round picks, and Cody sent him in exchange John Brown and his 1 and 5. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't see it. I mean, I'm not going to talk shit about Cody because I think he gets enough of that in this league, but I just don't see it. I don't see the value after 2 weeks. I know what happened. Cody's watching a lot of Buffalo games because his quarterback's in Buffalo now. He's got 3 Buffalo players, which is probably the first time anyone in this league's ever had 3 Buffalo players with Josh Allen. Singletary, he had Brown, now he has Diggs. I mean, was John Brown not like the 8th or 9th best receiver, and Diggs was like what, 4 or 5?
Yeah, they were separated by a few points.
So Brown's getting looks, he's getting touches, he's getting touchdowns. Josh Allen's spreading the ball around. If you're gonna go make a move, I just don't see the 1-5 for Diggs closing that small more. And Cody's always about money ball. What's the standings say? And the standings say that they're close. It's not a 1-5 gap, but.
You know what? You just nailed it right there. I won't go into too much detail. We talked off air about it. I'm with you on that, but you just quantified exactly the difference for me. You look at them, you compare them, and there's definitely a gap, but it's a 1-5.
No.
Now your best picks are 2, 3, 4, and if you have an injury or you need any sort of help, like I wouldn't trade you a 1 for Steph Diggs. Steph Diggs is worth a 1 on its own, maybe, right? That's where he was drafted.
Yeah. And
so when I look at the gap, I think that the trade is close, but I don't think a 1-5 is representative of the difference between them. So you know what, though? I will say, to be positive, Chad, you did well, man. And now Chad's got 2 1s. So it'll be interesting if he keeps them or if he goes and makes a move.
Yeah, the hardest man to deal with in the league. So
yeah.
He'll come to you with those 1s and tell you you're stupid for not liking his deal.
100%. Oh, boy. I'm getting the trophy off him soon, too. Chad, let me know when you're available, bud, and I'll come by and pick that thing up so I can cradle it next time, next episode. So. All
right. So I think we're about an hour. Any other last points?
I'm looking forward to football tonight, as always, boys. I mean, it's week 3. It seems like it goes by too fast, but enjoy. And like Dorian had mentioned earlier in the pod, if you've got any questions for next week's episode, just leave them on the Facebook wall or the YouTube page, and we'll definitely make sure to get back to them. So thanks for joining, boys.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. And a couple guys still owe league fees. So next week I'm going to start calling names out on air. So get that dealt with me as soon as you can.
No.
And then we'll see you guys next week for episode 6.
Thanks for joining, guys. Cheers.
Signing off. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to this week's episode of Diesel